Let's talk about the fear of diving into the unknown. Because when you're training for something that you've never trained for before, whether it be an Ironman or a 5K, it's pretty common for there to be some uncertainty and some anxiety surrounding that.
Hi, my name's Steven. I'm a marathoner and triathlete. I completed my first ever Ironman 70.3 last summer and am currently training for my first ever full Ironman. Now, a lot of fitness YouTubers will tell you that they've got it all figured out, but not me. So when I tell you that I have anxiety surrounding a training for a race that I've never done before, I mean it. So let's talk about it. Now, I've trained for a lot of races over the past 12 years, including 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and of course the Ironman 70.3 last summer. But this one by far is the hardest. Because I've done so many trainings, you might think that I should be used to this feeling of anxiety and I shouldn't be worried. After all, I've never failed to finish a race before, knock on wood. I don't see any wood around. Someone please knock on wood for me. Thank you. But I'm just a normal guy who has a full-time job and is trying to do something crazy like complete a full Ironman. So I can't help but shake this feeling of being unsure. I just don't know how it's gonna go on race day. And it doesn't help that after my 14-mile run yesterday, I did not feel well. I had a headache and I tried to fix that with some electrolytes and still was a challenge. I mentioned my legs being super tired. And also I did my very best to make sure that I felt okay by the end of that run. I brought lots of food and electrolytes and water to make sure that I felt all right. But at the end of the run, my stomach was still really hot and uncomfortable and I felt very nauseous. And I know that that means that there's likely a problem with my nutrition or hydration, but I was consuming a lot of electrolytes and it just kind of left me questioning what exactly I'm doing wrong. And so that really does underscore my concerns, but all I can really do is just continue to trust the process and push forward. After all, what's the alternative, right? Stopping, not doing the training anymore, and then assuredly wouldn't finish the race that way, of course. You know, Scott Jurek, the famous ultra runner who won the Western States 100 a number of times, as well as some other races, said a few times in a book I read of his recently that sometimes we just do things. And I think that might be true for the people who don't understand why we do things. But for me personally, I want to understand why we do things. My why is that I want to be able to push myself as hard as I can. I want to see how far I can go. Because I had a difficult journey where I lost 85 pounds over a year and a half. And I don't want to go back to that. And maybe I'm just chasing that feeling of being scared, or rather running away from it, because I don't want to feel that again. And as someone who has played sports his whole life, granted I'm not a professional, never was, I have always loved competition, and this is a little bit different. It's competing against yourself, and I think I really enjoy that because, like I said, I do want to be able to push, see how far I can go. So in those moments of doubt where your body's exhausted, your mind's exhausted, you just don't want to keep going and you can't even fathom completing the workout for the day, I think the most important thing really is to just get out the door. Do what you can. Put your all into it, because at the end of the day, even if you don't finish the race that you're training for, you know that you gave everything you got and there's nothing that you could be ashamed of. Is it scary to lean into the unknown? Heck yeah, it is. But that's also a little bit exciting, isn't it? Because leaning into the unknown means leaning into experiences that you've never had before, getting to unlock a version of yourself that you've never had before. And a lot of endurance athletes out there will say that when you're competing in endurance sports, at some point your body will break down and you can only continue because your mind is strong enough to push past. And I think maybe that's also what I'm chasing too, is they want and desire to find a different part of myself. To be completely vulnerable, I mean, I grew up with a lot of self-confidence issues. Anything and everything I did was not good enough. And maybe that's also why I'm trying to find a different version of myself. And while I understand that that is problematic, and I really think that it's important that we approach sports and athletics in a really healthy way, both physically and mentally, I think it's important to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And sometimes, Scott Jurek, we do just do things. But I think it's important to understand why. And so let's lean into that unknown. Let's push ourselves to see how far we can go. And I'm excited to see how we come out on the other end of it. I'm excited to see how it turns out for you too. Sorry to interrupt, quick coffee break. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Lean into the unknown, trust in the process, and get in the training any way you can. I mean, look, I'm pretty tired today, but I was able to get into training by taking a couple breaks. I stopped for coffee and for another break, which you just saw me take. But hey, if you're interested in this kind of content, I'm documenting my entire training to Ironman California, which is in October. So feel free to stick around because lots of good training content and of course the occasional terrible pun. But appreciate you being here as always. I'll catch you in the next one. Yeah.